All yours.
Probably. Let's just start there. You're right.
Any of them.
Just each one.
Everybody.
Kind of looks like a brat.
There we go.
There you go, ma'am. Good. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Fine, thank you.
You're welcome.
What's up?
Hopefully everyone can find us.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, so see, we need to get on the teams and see if Anita's on, and we need one more person.
We won't be
Taking it.
taking action.
That's true, that's true.
But we can't vote on the previous minutes then either.
Yeah, we can,
We'd have to.
We'll have to- We'd have to move that to the next meeting here and approve both of them.
This says.
And with that being the case, we can have some discussion. Yeah. But we still got work to do after today. Let me know once you're logged in. Log in. Okay. We're gonna go ahead and get started here. This is work session. Actually looking for a flag in here so we can do the pledge of allegiance, but I don't see one. So I guess we'll have to forego that at this point in time. So let's start with roll call. Is Anita online?
do not see her.
Okay. Brad Gorsuch is not here. Michael Welk,
Present.
Josh Weiser, I'm here. Dax Kennedy is not present. Keith Jost here. Chase Gann, not present. David Mueller, not present. Brandy Smith.
Here.
Delbert Lowe,
Here.
Sharon Olmsted,
Here.
Nina Carr,
Here.
and Russ Huey.
Here.
Okay. All right, so we will not approve the record of proceedings from the last meeting since we do not have a quorum here. Because we are doing a work session, we'll have the discussion. We'll move on to the discussion on data centers and carry over the meeting minutes to the next meeting for approval in 2 weeks. So I think everybody's got in their packet, you got a memo from Russ on the data centers, the counties in Kansas and the status of their moratoriums or regulations or lack of.
Were those available tonight? That's, I think from,
Yeah.
I didn't think you wanted anything. Oh, no, I didn't know that. That came in today. I didn't get that till
So you
today.
didn't get to see it.
No, you're fine. Thank you. I just needed that one
earlier.
thing. That just one thing was all I needed.
So the plan tonight, we're only gonna go an hour for discussion. We do have more work than an hour to do to get to a point of where we could have something to vote on, but we'll work through as much as we can. Also in your packet was an email from last time on some research I had done on the data centers across the US as far as where the top numbers were, and Kansas currently has 19. I was able to find 9 on the map when I looked for it, so I don't know where the other 10 are. They may be small, just in existence that we've been living with for years. So I did, up in the Kansas City area, there's quite a few co-location data centers. There seems, I think Tierra Systems is the name of the company, and they've got them in Oklahoma, they got them in Kansas City, and they're renting out space to people. So I've watched some of the proceedings down in Wichita and Barber County. Google's looking at 1,000-acre data center down in Barber County, fairly sizable. So I think for us here, what I want to do is I sent you the outline. This isn't every topic. This is the topics from discussion here in Marion County, listening to some folks, listening to this board, listening to Sedgwick County and Barber County. What are the concerns with data centers? And I ordered these in such a way that the top issues are first. And the goal, my intention on this is that every step of the way, we're going to ask ourselves the questions: are we open to data centers in the unincorporated part of the county in Marion County? If we get to a point where the whole board is saying, no, we're not open to it, I think we have to stop and ask ourselves, do we put any more time into this? But as we work down, we got, if we're saying, yes, we're open to it, then we're going to talk about the scale, what size, and then water, fire, soil and farmland, noise, aesthetics. What are these things, if they're going to be here, what do they need to look like? Studies for permitting, decommissioning plans, ongoing reporting, permit conditions, and other considerations that we want to look at. So I guess I'll start first with going around. A simple yes or no, are individually, are we open to data centers in the unincorporated part of the county?
I don't think we have enough information to make a decision.
Okay.
I've talked to quite a few people in my area, and they're all were against it. And I ask why? Well, you see it on the news. News is only reporting negative. I've asked everybody, if you get a chance, go do your homework. Don't look one side or the other, look right in the middle. Look for the truth. And one of my neighbors got back with me, goes, wow, there's not much, he was surprised because it's not what they're saying on the news. So I think we need to make an educated decision.
I would say similar to that, I would echo similar thoughts, talk to some people in our area and stuff. And yeah, once you kind of explain what it is and the fact that realistically, there's one down the street here that you can pass by every day and realize that's all it is just a small brick and mortar building, or could be potentially, then it's, well, I guess we've been living with that for years. So the opinions vary. I would say it's a possibility in the county and we should look at it. Personally, I don't see it outside in the unincorporated rural areas. I see it better suited around the towns.
Yeah, I agree with those comments that we need some more information, but to me, it makes sense that it'd be closer to a town unless we're talking 1,000-acre one. But I think we just need some more information, be realistic, and not that we're going to say, oh, only hyperscalers we're ruling out, but anything the size of a city lot or less on the outskirts of town would be manageable.
Okay. I'm in the boat of it depends on what it is. I will tell you now, I'm completely against the hyperscalers and the basically your larger infrastructure.
Something that needs a lot of water or cooling or
Yeah.
utilities and roads or
The power is the biggest thing
Yeah, the
in my mind. So smaller ones, edge, I would consider with the right regulations.
What do you consider edge size wise?
So that's where it can get tricky because I don't think you can set a square footage on that. Because as equipment gets more efficient and those racks get denser, I could pull in 5 years, I might, in this room here, I might be able to pull the amount of power that a full city pulls. Where today it might take, 1,000 acres to do that. So when I say small or the smaller ones, I'm looking at how much power are they drawing.
I almost think on your outline here, just looking at it, that maybe the power draw, if that's what is our big concern, is that we should have that up here in the scale sizes. Define it as how much are we willing to allow in power? And then we can start checking through the rest.
Is the power something that the owner of the data center, if they want to put one up, they have, that needs to be put on them to make sure that they have the utilities that they require without tapping into the community. You're shaking your head, so you got information.
Well, yes and no. It's certainly the burden, as anything is, on the applicant. If I'm wanting to, have some sort of commercial business out in the county and my access road's poor, I'm working with that township or the county to improve that roadway because I am bringing the impact. So they would have to, I think at minimum, if we were looking at a regulatory structure, we would be asking them obviously about decommissioning agreements, things that we're already generally familiar with, but have you secured water rights? Have you secured a power agreement? Those things are typically, even on your edge data centers, typically a first order of business for a proposed data center developer. They're asked, how do we secure water? How do we just secure power? What's the infrastructure for our output? What's fiber looking like in the area, things of that nature. They're going to migrate to areas that have that. So the question to me is larger than that. I have no problem believing that a data center developer will be able to secure power from a generating source. The question is then, does that generating source have the capital not to force rate increases? So that's where we would have to look at something like the state for legislation to cap residential rates or individual rates, that we need some structure, and that's coming from Evergy. And I think we can all trust Evergy here, can't we? For making moral arguments about the rights of their individual customers. So yeah, it's a monopoly between the Kansas legislature and Evergy. And guess who's pro data center? Guess who's pro renewables? Guess who's pro all of this stuff? Without the consideration, in my opinion, just from what I've experienced over, say, the last 10, 15 years of what that looks like on the ground out in our counties. So that structure, I can't imagine being anytime imminent, where they would be that there would be some sort of legislation to protect the residential customer from the inevitable rate hikes. I mean, we've seen it, I think Buffalo, New York, Niagara, I don't know if it's Niagara County, but the township that is right adjacent to Niagara Falls that has incredibly some of the cheapest electrical rates, their data centers even increased those communities' electric bill at the end of the day. Montana dealt with that in the same way, and they tried to create a state level taxation program, and it still affected consumer rates down the line. So till those big fish issues get tackled, I think we're left spinning as to what we can expect.
So Evergy, have you looked at the Evergy tariff they're putting on these data centers?
briefly, the only thing I've really got through is Evergy's data centers. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. That,
Myths versus, whatever. I don't know if y'all,
Oh,
I got that from Osage County. which is-
okay. The challenge I have with the Evergy tariff is it's for Evergy customers and
Yeah.
the co-ops do not follow the same KCC regulations that Evergy does. Now, in Barber County, when Google presented on the one that they want to build there, the co-op down there said Google is paying for all the infrastructure upgrades on power, water, and the roads. I mean, the co-op talked about the power, but
Sure, sure.
I don't know, we don't have any control over what Flint Hills does.
Exactly.
So that's, and then my question, even if we went the route of saying we're gonna cap the power, what if Flint Hills came back and said, we have the capacity?
Then we revisit the regulations at that time. I will say this, that right, wrong, or indifferent. Some short little guy out of Wichita, so take that for whatever it's worth, but I mean, the inundation with data centers and energy storage systems or battery energy storage systems is just, it's been a tidal wave. And it's been a tidal wave in literally every county that I work with. Everyone is dealing with the exact same topics that we're dealing with here. My flippant comment is to ban them and let industry come to us and tell us why we should amend our regulations to permit them. Until all this other stuff's figured out. I mean, we know, I don't know what, unfortunately, all you talked about a couple of weeks ago, but the cooling technology has come
Always.
a super long ways to the positive. All right, so what else? What's it going to look like in October? What's it going to look like in January of 2030?
Yeah.
And I like how you framed that. It's tricky for us to regulate because the technology is getting
It changes.
more efficient from what their needs are, not more efficient for what, a county,
Yeah.
local government needs. But it will be tricky. It's going to be a quick darting little thing to hit to get it right. Not to say that we can't try and you put your best foot forward. And again, as we know, the comprehensive plan and all of our regulations are ever evolving. So it's no issue then when we have better information or there is a paradigm shift in the technology or what have you
You look at
down the road.
a technology shift about every 3 years. So one of Delbert's points earlier when he was talking to folks, I've looked at a lot of presentations from other counties and what is brought up is evaporative cooling. I'm absolutely against evaporative cooling because that's where the water gets used. Google's going to use air. One we visited in Wichita uses air. Going to use a little bit more power doing that. And then you have to deal with the noise on the outside because some of those can get noisy. Liquid cooling is getting more popular, but it's more popular with the AI data centers. They're large, where NVIDIA's in place. So, I would be surprised if anybody's interested in bringing something like that up here with the infrastructure. I mean, we were at a meeting in Marion a couple of weeks ago on a Sunday afternoon and taking the guy at face value, he had indicated Meta was trying to get 1,000 acres in northern Marion County. And Evergy told them it was 5 years to get the infrastructure built to support that.
Come on, nuclear fusion.
That's coming. It's coming.
I know.
They're better looking campus.
Yeah.
I did have, one of my coworkers lives down in, the Phoenix area and he went over by where one of the, I don't know who owns it, the data center. It's about the size of a 1 block warehouse, about a city block warehouse that you would see UPS or, any company have. He said it made no more noise than the rest. He said he could tell it ran off chill water. And he's like, it's just another building. It's, you know, it's not louder or quieter or because it sounds like everything else. It just doesn't have the trucks coming and going.
I do have a table here I printed out. I forgot I had this on edge facilities on average power draw. So they divided it from micro edge to small edge to medium and large. Your micro edge is anywhere from 10 to 75 kilowatts, equivalent to 8 to 60 homes is what it's got rated here. Your large goes up to 350 to 1500 kilowatts. So that's a reference point on the edge.
And maybe there's a net benefit to, say, Flint Hills Co-op or any of the other electrical co-ops in the state. You have a one-time large investor coming in, willing to upgrade the system to whatever degree. Perhaps, you know, I'm paranoid about rates. But maybe the overall capital expenditure for these co-ops go down because they're the ones not replacing poles. They're not the ones building new substations to replace outdated substations and the like. Now, I realize that you don't let a lot of electrical facilities or infrastructure. You're always maintaining those to a certain degree, but you know, that's some graduate student's econ thesis, not your their local planning consultant, but it's just that we are at the nascent edge of this in Kansas.
We've seen how the power companies upkeep their stuff, so.
Yeah. You never know who works.
So I'm on Flint Hills, but
If we step back and look at the big picture, here's where I struggle is in general, where we are headed as society, we are data driven. Everything is data driven. Your phones, your schools, agriculture, you go out the West Coast, you got self-driving cars. When you have data centers close by and that latency is low, you can do that type of stuff. This is where I struggle with it is, let's say we ban it and nobody wants to come here for 2, 3, 5 years. I don't know, you pick a number. Are we limiting ourselves? Take agriculture. These guys maybe want to go to autonomous tractors. Or autonomous driving around here probably doesn't make a difference. We're probably not going to see autonomous cars. What about medical procedures? And probably who's likely going to invest coming to the power discussion? It's probably not going to be a Google or a Microsoft. It's going to be somebody sitting in this room building a building, and then they're going to rent out the space to local companies, or, you know, maybe AGCO builds theirs in Heston and you have that data center there that's running autonomous. But that's where I struggle. I'm like, okay, do we limit our opportunities in the future?
I think that if it's in the industrial park, then it's better suited for that. I'm not opposed to that necessarily in the industrial park. I'm opposed to it in the rural park. So I think, I mean, I did some research today and just the way that they bring in, you've got an LLC coming in and then they bring in 5 shell companies and they're not, it talks about doing an aggregation clause so that you lump them together and they're not, you know, so there's things you can do, but I mean, it's some pretty tight, it's putting a cap on everything. It's adding a geographic aggregation radius. It's requiring a utility impact certification. I mean, adding a kill switch. There's all kinds of things you can do to tighten it up, but and the people that I spoke to, because I thought you were just asking me. So the people I spoke to don't want it in the rural part of the county. I mean, that's just, they just don't want it there.
Okay.
So I'm not opposed to talking about it the other way, but that's.
What about within a certain distance of, say, Hillsborough and, you know, industrial park? Something like that. It would still be in
Do
the
we
county.
consider an area that
My suggestion would be
radius.
for Hillsborough then to annex it and expand their their city limits. That's typically the, what our comp plan says and things of that nature, but
Yeah, and that's the thing is our comprehensive plan, even though we're getting ready to change it or to update it, it does say that things need to be kept in the incorporated part. So, I mean, just the way it's written now, it just does not fit. So,
Yeah, we haven't got the comprehensive
No,
plan,
we
but there
haven't.
is no place in the
that's
comprehensive
right,
plan.
there is not.
One big question I have, and I've heard from everybody I've talked to, what would one of these bring to the party? You're not gonna have high employment, you're not. And
I think that's where it becomes a scale. What
Yeah.
are they bringing
It would
versus
be
what are they
similar to
taking?
a pilot type of agreement because this has a 20 or 25-year tax exemption. I think
Yeah.
20.
20, I think
Yeah.
it's
It's a
20 on
20.
sales tax.
so you can sit there for 20 years and not bring anything to the county.
Right,
And most
That's
people
a
have said,
struggle.
that's simple no.
Yeah, why are we hosting your problem?
Yeah.
otherwise you set your regulations so tight that it's not appealing to them.
We just say no.
Yeah.
But you're still gonna have regulation, because if you don't regulate it, then, you've got to set some tight parameters. Even if they're super tight, that people stay away.
Well, the tightest that we can set it is a prohibition. We are not having these facilities developed in the county.
So then what happens if they come back later? I mean, how does that protect the county without some sort of regulation? Because there is none.
They wouldn't be able to build that type of facility in Marion County if it's prohibited. Now, typically what they would do if there's several factors. Sitting here, I don't see what those factors would be compared to other counties that have extensive electrical transmission facilities that are extremely close to other major population centers, access to fiber optic systems that are better than a lot of rural areas. So if Marion County hosted certain variables that was attractive to the development of data centers, we would let that industry come to the county commissioners and make their sales pitch. And then we would go through the process of removing that prohibition and installing a comfortable set of regulations.
So for word ban versus prohibition,
Same thing. Here.
technically, or is it, I mean, is it mean the same thing?
Yes, in zoning it does.
Okay.
We are seeking to ban it. It would be a prohibited use in our book.
So wouldn't it be better if you're gonna do that to set it up on like a long moratorium?
I typically don't care for, not licensed to practice law in the state of Kansas, but I typically don't like moratoria as it relates to land use regulations is typically allowed or agreed upon method in order to give us a year or two to develop regulation, to determine whether it's a land use that we want to have in our jurisdiction. 2-year to 3-year moratoria are typically designed so we can do a comprehensive plan review followed by a regulatory change or amendment. That's the idea. I'm looking at you, McPherson County. I think they have a perpetual moratorium on wind. Do something with it. It's that car that's never going to run again that's taken up the second bay of your garage. Sell the car, free up some space, and move on with your life. So from my standpoint, this is just my opinion, take it or leave it. But in these circumstances, I feel like the determination, just like any other land use, is it something that we see a future for in our county? Do our constituents want that land use in our county? Is it going to have benefit of whatever flavor for the county? And if so, let's move on to regulations, and that can be done within 6 months, typically or less. So it kind of just keeps it spinning on pause. Whereas not in every facet of my life, but as far as zoning goes, let's move off of high center and either regulate it or prohibit it.
But if we prohibit it and then somebody comes, we're back at this point of,
Whether we have a 5-year moratorium on it,
Yeah.
we're going to end that moratorium and develop regulations.
Yeah.
Then if
See,
we
it
have
would-
the
it
right
would
person.
make more sense to me, in my brain, that we pause on this and we do our comp plan. Sort of like putting the cart before the horse, in my opinion, but, the comp plan, if you look at the comp plan, if you, whoever's read it, I know you've read it, it's got a lot of, it's weak in a lot of areas, and it is not geared towards local sovereignty. It is abdicated much of it out. And that's problematic in a county if you want to maintain a little more control. So, I mean, we've got a comp plan that really needs some restructuring. Got some good parts, but some parts that are just very broad, very ambiguous, do not keep some of that local control. And I think this is kind of one of those things, you know, that you want to have some control.
I agree with that. Yeah, first step should always be the comprehensive plan.
I mean, the fact that no one's knocking at the door for this would give us reason to pause, do the comp plan, then do this. I mean, the only one that's come to the door was Flint Hills for battery. You know, so, and again, we need the comp plan. That's sort of your guide. That's your guide rails. It just seems to me would be, you know, wiser to maybe do that first.
if we were to prohibit them, does that put any burden on existing businesses that have them? Or are they all existing in cities today?
If they existed in the county at the time of prohibition, they would be a legal non-conforming use.
Okay.
Have certain rights of expansion, and they would certainly be
Okay.
legally allowed to operate unless they got hit by a tornado.
Well, I guess my question is, if I'm ag company, whatever, and I'm gonna build a small, you know, Hillsborough Trailer wants to move and build another facility in the county. Well, you know, they do data and stuff, you know, they get their CAD and stuff. Well, they need a server room, you know, their own little data center in there. Is this gonna affect that? Does that affect the schools? Does that affect?
This would be considered, that example is a perfect example of not coming off half-cocked here. So in that scenario, that data center for that business would be an ancillary or accessory use to the principal use of that manufacturing company, that hospital, Tabor College, Marion High School, et cetera, et cetera. We're talking about standalone.
Okay, just want to clarify.
It as the principal use.
Assume that, but
Yep, right there with you.
Yeah, we don't want to limit those folks that are already existing.
Yeah.
I mean, every business has got a server room. Most
Yeah.
ones.
We do, and it's right outside of my office. We don't have any noise controls or a door, so
it's security.
I think it's punishment for the person that I am at that company for 28 years.
So I gotta say, I agree with you 100% on there. We don't have anybody knocking on the door right now. Is that true that we know of?
I know.
I,
I've been approached.
So I think it would be prudent to do exactly what he said, and, you know, let's get our ducks in a row and either pause this or just kill it, make them come to us.
So it would require an extended moratorium to do that. Or
Or prohibition.
The
Well, our
prohibition.
I would say that the
Because-
prohibitions makes more sense, make them come to us.
So how long does it take to redo the comp plan? I mean, especially if there's good things, then we keep the good things and we just tighten up the things that are weak and we,
So we wrote that in 2017. you typically see updates on your socioeconomic element of the comprehensive plan. So in our circumstance, 40% of it, 30% of it would be changed, possibly. We would retain the history of Marion County, and a lot of the four chapters, the first few chapters in the comprehensive plan are static. Nothing has changed. We have the same planning laws that necessitate the comp plan. So really we have an implementation section, which is usually the only thing people would thumb to is the policy statements. That would be a major overhaul and a good time to do it, because again, I think looking at the comp plan would also afford us other considerations on, wind may be fairly corralled by now, but it would give us a chance to better define expectations, future objectives and goals for any and all land uses. And we have, seems like we're generating new land uses to talk about every quarter. So it would be a time to have a discussion on battery energy storage systems. Not amongst us, but the community at large. So when we did the comprehensive plan, we did have a community survey. Several stakeholder meetings, that type of stuff, a larger forum for anything under the sun.
See, and I think those are good, because that's where you really get to hear from the people.
Exactly. So that would be a shotgun answer to a lot of questions that we're having, instead of piecemealing it. Typically, you can digest a few of these things, maybe one or two a year, right? Short-term rentals comes up. We don't need to revisit the comprehensive plan.
Right.
And as a default, the comprehensive plan, I think, in my experience, should be general and vague to account for unknown events in the future. You can shoehorn those goals and objectives to help support a county commission's decision of reasonableness. But there are occasions where you jump from the general to specific. So we want to protect the rural lifestyle, quality of life in Marion County. There's no county in America that doesn't want to do that, right? But what may be unique to Marion County is our unique situation with renewable energies, with emerging technologies. Perhaps we've lost sight of, I hate to throw this on road and bridge, but it's the only thing department I can come up with. Maybe we need to have a different look of how the county handles bridge maintenance throughout the county, things of that nature. We got into that at Reno County years ago. So you combine the general with the specifics that are unique to your particular jurisdiction, and then go on from there. And then that would inform not only how we handle regulation and amendments in our zoning regulations, it would also go a long way in supporting the county commission's decisions of reasonableness in case there would ever be some sort of court challenge.
So go ahead.
I was gonna ask, would it be, and I'm not against, postponing and going through the comprehensive plan. I actually think that'd probably be the best idea first. But would it be better to do the prohibition of it until the review of the comprehensive plan, or to do an extension of the moratorium until the review of the comprehensive plan? I mean, typically, it sounds like you would extend the moratorium, do the comprehensive plan, and then go through this and decide, at this point, do we want to prohibit it, or do we want to make regulations?
Yeah, if the Board of County Commissioners wants to go down this road that Brandy is suggesting, then I think an extension of the moratorium would be, or any or all of them that are on the books now, extend those, would probably be the best. Sharon.
The moratorium is also easier to lift or extend.
Yeah.
It's a much faster process.
Much faster. It can happen Monday morning type of thing, right? Whereas prohibiting it, we wouldn't prohibit data centers or anything else until June, right? Because of notification, we have to hold a public hearing, and that assumes that we're going to all make a recommendation that night. and that the county commission is going to adopt that amendment the next meeting. So typically you're looking at 2 to 3 months for, that's how quick that regulations, that shit turns. Whereas a moratorium is much more light on its feet. And probably best, a ban would be, maybe we don't hear from anybody for 2 years or 20 years, right? So a ban typically has a longer horizon, in my opinion. A moratorium is, we need to stop, work on this, get back to it. It's quicker.
Well, we need to keep in mind too, that we're gonna have elections this year, so, that always can change things.
And I'll tell you, I've always been worried for about the last 2 years coming from solar discussions, but it applies to any of this other stuff, quite frankly. And I've always complained, and I've mentioned that that Topeka wants as much of this stuff built as possible, right? I am paranoid about the threat of them coming in with the next Senate bill that's going to preempt
Yep.
local government. So,
Now Senator Fagg told us at a meeting we were at that wasn't what they supported.
not
Right.
yet. We
Right.
haven't received
Yeah.
checks yet.
Right, exactly. So, but we made sure that he knew that, we knew that was the jig. And if they were gonna piecemeal it out and slip it in someplace else, that was gonna completely devastate our ability to self-govern.
Absolutely.
So that's a real problem and it's on the horizon.
So if between a moratorium and prohibiting, if somebody did come to the county and wanted to build one, is it handled differently between a moratorium in place or a ban in place?
Yes, so with the moratorium, typically that moratorium states that we will not be accepting applications for that activity. And then a ban just says we don't allow it.
So it gives them a window of how far out they need to look before they would actually be
Right.
able to come apply.
A ban and a moratorium give off a different nuance.
Mhm.
So a ban says your industry or your whatever is not welcome here.
Right.
Moratorium says we're thinking about it.
Right.
We're trying to decide, we're trying to develop.
Which I think is kind of what we're saying, because we've got to get our comprehensive plan updated.
Mhm.
So it just kind of makes sense. We're just pausing on these until we get our guardrails
I
up.
feel like we're in agreement, perhaps.
I don't know what the county commission feels. I think that maybe we have to shift it back and say, what do you think?
I think with the comprehensive plan idea, we're simply opening the door to a broader discussion with a broader range of people in Marion County. Potentially, I've not really experienced this, at least in the small footprint of Kansas that I've worked with, industry coming. There's certainly there's a husband and wife lobby team that deal with renewables. Somebody like that could show up and try to market, put their 2 cents in from an industry standpoint. And that's good, from a knowledge standpoint. Doesn't necessarily move the needle necessarily on what the local decision is going to be, but
While you're pausing,
yes.
yeah, I get the sense that we're thinking of a moratorium and that let them come to us and the county commission with, this is what we're asking for you to consider. And then we can revisit the moratorium idea that we could be lifted and accept an application with more data.
Sure.
Information.
It's similar to what we've been doing the last 6 months or so with the county commission. They've been giving us great direction of what they want to talk about. We've provided that information. We've had that discussion, which is our job. Come back with additional questions here and there. So yeah, I think this topic of what's the game plan moving forward? Certainly we want direction from the commission on taking on a moderate sized project of a comprehensive plan revisit They are typically redone every 10 years, and that's typically done to maybe change 2 or 3 objectives and goals and the census data, right? So that information is much, much more fluid now. You used to have to wait really 10 years because that's when the census would come out. Now we have micro census information and it's just fluid. So we can really do a comprehensive plan whenever. And maybe we have collected enough stuff to, you know, we need to take a look at it. And I'm saying this, not trying to get another project for Marion County, but if that, it does have its advantages, I will sit here and say it's not a requirement from a legal standpoint, but it is probably the, not to, can't find a different word, but a comprehensive approach to solving these problems, not just this problem.
Guardrails and guidelines.
So if we put a,
And by the time we do a comp plan, who knows what data centers are gonna
Well,
look like.
I was gonna say, you know, Microsoft and Google, the big guys have already signed an agreement that by 2030, they will generate their own power for data centers.
Yeah.
So what that means is, will they want to be here? Maybe not, but that technology, they're gonna make money off of it, selling it to other people. So 2030 is not very far away. You know, I mentioned technology changes every 3 years.
And maybe we're not talking, all of our minds, mine included, and all the documentation and all the discussions are for hyperscale.
Yeah.
90% of it, let's say.
Yep.
What I don't want to do, and I've had this happen in a county of mine that had 2 very, any electrical co-op's going to be active, but 2 electrical co-ops that dealt with probably 80% of the citizens of the county are probably customers of those 2 that wanted to do small scale, 10 megawatt solar farms sitting on 40 acres for their direct constituents, not getting sold. The thing that I've heard for decades now, that's just a broken record, is all of this stuff is going to the Southwest Power Pool. These data centers can't buy their electric, well, you got 2 wind farms here, let that electricity rates aren't going to be an issue. Well, you can't because that power is already bespoke
Yeah.
to the Southwest Power Pool. So we're looking at yet another generator potentially, or an existing generator that has a potential negative impact on ratepayers. So it was a disservice, in my opinion. I don't get paid necessarily for my personal opinions, but it was a disservice, I thought, to a great many of that county's residents to ban them outright. Anything that's even, so in my research, not to jump ahead to my memo, but I've not seen where there's an outright prohibition or ban in the zoning regulations of these facilities. I got $50 that says Osage County, Kansas will be the first, and that's probably going to be by summer. So that county just attacks anything and everything, and that's fine. That's the will of the people. But there are communities that have municipal generation, and there are obviously co-ops that have the ability to supplement with their own power source, typically renewables of some flavor, solar, I should say, the only ones that have come across my desk. So as with data centers, we need to, I think the focus is going to be on, is there a size or a model or a set of restrictions that eliminates the problematic Google, Microsoft hyperscale.
Right.
But we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater necessarily. Perhaps there's a medium sized or a small size that would be a benefit to the Tabor colleges of the county, you know, to the industries of the county. I don't know what that looks like. Perhaps I'm wrong, but you know, if somebody came with a old Bell, Southwestern Bell size telephone terminal size building for a data center or whatever for local internet, do we want to do away with those? To me, those aren't the problem.
Right.
So we want to find out what's healthy growth and what's not.
I do like the idea of focusing on the comprehensive plan. It does put up the guardrails, refocuses where the county wants to focus the land usage and and then come back to this. I mean, that's my opinion.
With this being a work session, we can't just say, well, this needs to go at this time back to the county commissioners. We need quorum and we need.
We'll need a quorum and we'll do that in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We could do that in 2 weeks and then,
So if we do a moratorium, say 2-year moratorium, in that 2 years, we can still work on what we want to do. So at the end of the moratorium, we have a plan.
That's the core intent of the
Yeah.
moratorium.
To make sure.
But it'd be wrapping in multiple things because you'd be doing comprehensive and the regulations.
We would get a general consensus may be hopeful. We would get a general idea of what the public's reaction is to these handful of new technologies that we're dealing with, existing ones that are in the county, and any other issues. I mean, this is our focus. But it would be an opportunity to really talk about anything for citizens to approach us as mediators, to include whatever they want to see happen for the future. Maybe it's recreational facilities, maybe it's this, and maybe it's that.
And I think that the polling, however you want to just talk about it, when you send out that to collect the data from the people.
Mhm.
I think that's where you can hone in on some specifics. So, you can find out who are business owners and, what are their needs? And, you can ask specific questions, some in general and some specific. I think that gives you a little more precise data to be able to apply to something like this. I mean, so that the questions, whatever was asked last time, I know taxes are still a problem, so that hasn't changed in all those years, but there's some new things that maybe we need to focus on. And I don't know who writes those, and maybe that's the county commission, but we can maybe, really be specific and conscientious on what we seek, so that we get a really well-rounded idea of what the majority needs and wants are.
and I think over that time, the technology industry adapts and changes very, very quickly. So they're meeting a lot of resistance now with these data centers. So they may have new tactics and new proposals by the time we get around to this, different power. They spend quick and they cut spending quick.
Mhm.
I've seen it
As we saw
for
with.
30 years. So, okay. We got about 7 minutes before we want to wrap up. Russ, did you want to say anything about your memo you sent me?
No surprises. Everybody's in the same boat we are. So,
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. We're kind of in good company.
so everything in this memo is pretty much what we talked about. We know that Harvey and Sedgwick County have moratoria. I've learned that McPherson, Saline, and Morris County, some regional counties, are also have active moratoria that were established this year. Looks like McPherson County actually, McPherson County had a 6-month moratorium from August of 25. I couldn't find confirmation that they extended it, although there was discussion to extend it. Knowing how McPherson County typically handles these issues, I can't imagine that they haven't extended it. I have a short section, and half of these are counties that I work in. Osage County, I guarantee you,
Hard no.
they're a hard no.
Mhm.
Miami County, Butler County, and Reno County have indications that they are going to do the same exercise that we are, with or without comp plan changes. Coffee County is in the second trimester of their birthing of their comp plan. So it's the comprehensive plan, in a very similar fashion. We got through 10 months of developing solar regulations. And as we presented those regulations to the board of county commissioners there, the motion was made to do a comp plan. that we stopped solar in its tracks, put a moratorium in place that ends this September, a comprehensive plan, still don't know what it really, I don't know if they've formulated all the public comments regarding these energy sources, but energy storage systems, solar generation, they seem to be happy with their wind regulations in place. But solar, a lot of brushback because some, and I mean, there was a group of like, they look like college sophomores came in with some LLC to lease 8,000 acres around John Redmond Reservoir for a solar farm, which somebody calculated quickly to be 15% of the land area of the county. Immediately drove solar into a negative light. So they have wind farms, they have a nuclear reactor, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have strong limitations. Will probably be a permitted use. Solar would probably be a permitted use, but really nothing else. And I also noticed at the very tail end that Butler County is in the same position. And again, they kind of got into it with crypto mining along with Harvey County a couple of years ago, which spurred our crypto mining, whatever we have loosely adjacent to data centers in our regulations. So Butler County is going to be studying it as well. Most all other counties are regulating it just like a CUP, just like any other land use. Come in with your application and we'll create those types of regulations on the fly.
Yeah, that is.
And that's an option
That is
too.
a hard no.
So Osage County thought that they were in the running for one of the Evergy's new liquid petroleum gas fired power plants because they have a huge LP line going through the county and they have all the transmission one county could handle. So I talked that commission out of doing regulations. Why spend money with Russ Abey developing month after month with planning commissions regulations that may never be used? Who knows where the 3 or 4 Evergy plants are going? Well, we know Sereno County and Sumner County now. So Osage County would have been wasted money. So we can theoretically do regulations on the fly. I just wouldn't suggest it because
Yeah, I wouldn't even entertain it. And
I say
sometimes
that-
they're the bottom of the barrel right now.
I say that not as a suggestion, but it is a second backstop.
Okay. So it sounds like I guess, are we all in agreement? We push this into the next planning and zoning meeting with full group and bring up a vote on pushing the moratorium back to or pushing it back to the commission for an extended moratorium and focus on the comprehensive plan. Agree with that.
With notice for that, or can that be an action by the board? To push it back and request an extended moratorium?
We're not under a public hearing notice for this. These have
No.
just been work sessions.
I'm talking next session, or I'm just saying, what's our next meeting in 2 weeks look like when we got the full board here?
Right.
It
I'm
would
just wondering if we can take action on that without a public.
Well, then my
Yes.
next question was gonna be, how much of a public notice do we have to have? to Do that.
Well, the only thing that we could do next meeting is continue this third element of the work session.
Yeah.
And if we have a quorum at that meeting, we would have the ability to direct action to make suggestions to the Board of County Commissioners. We cannot hold a
Right.
comp plan meeting or any other type of business without public hearing. So since it appears with, again, the county commission is going to give us direction back as to what they want to see happen, and maybe they want to see regulations in place now.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then we would probably start looking to gather enough information. I would produce proposed amendments and we would digest those as a group. I would suggest then that Sharon would then publish a hearing notice. Notify all the township officials, all the cities, and a general newspaper notification of an amendment or amendments to the zoning regulations. And then that public hearing, then let's say it's set for our July meeting, can then carry on indefinitely. And we can take action to make recommendation on those amendments at any time. Typically it'd take a couple of meetings. Depends how these work sessions go and how heavy of a lift we haven't really gotten to the nuts and bolts. Josh has got we've got great outlines of what
Yeah.
the issues are.
Yeah.
Typically, the organ donor for Kansas regulations is usually Iowa.
Mhm.
And I think this is going to be similar. They have, some people I work with are from Iowa, and they unsolicitedly have been emailing me podcasts and information and county commission meetings from 2 counties in specifically Lynn County and Jones County, Iowa, on their new regulations. So they have a newly adopted regulations. We can certainly borrow from them. No sense in reinventing the wheel, especially on emerging technology. So you typically strap your ships together, and if Lynn County, Iowa goes through litigation, we'll know what to do and what not to do. I mean, that's just kind of the way it is. So that would be my suggestion and kind of what I would expect to see over the next half year.
And, and to be honest, I didn't come in here tonight with that on my mind. It's just that it's been playing in my mind since we started this process. Well, I feel like we're going backwards. And, so it's just, it's worth having this discussion again with the rest of the group. And
Okay. Any other comments or? Okay. All right. Yes, we need to adjourn.
Need a motion to
That's what
adjourn?
I was getting ready to say. Do we need a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it. All right, it's been seconded. Everybody in favor, say aye. Aye. Against, say nay. All right. We're done. Thank you, guys.
He said that, let's say Hillsborough Industries wants to add a